Let's check the caves of good
Hey
first,
people,
I
Seth
guess.
here. Have you ever dug too deep and found... Hey people,
Okay.
Seth here. Have you ever dug too deep and found something
No.
they don't want you to know? Sandy Loam, who is she and why can't
What?
I reach her? Have you ever
Who's
fallen
that?
out with someone and restored your friendship using quantum entanglement?
No, never tried that.
Rewrite history and save them from a car crash that never actually happened. Have you ever wanted to skip a lifetime of formal education just by cooking a banana?
That
And
would be
finally,
great.
have you ever had a fungal infection on your arm that, despite your best efforts, won't go away? No problem. Just cut it off. Then stab a syringe filled with anabolic growth hormones right into your chest and grow a new one. As you well know, mushrooms are a great source of protein. I just hope you're not picky about the origin of that protein. Everything said could be described as the raving of a paranoid schizophrenic, but it isn't. It's an everyday occurrence in the caves of Quud, which I'm not sure how to say.
Okay,
so
you were killed by lava, I see.
Instead, COC is like the negligent supervisor
Damn
to
it.
a kindergarten daycare. When the kids ask him if they can collectively mutilate themselves in the sandbox, he doesn't say, no, don't do that. He says, give it a try. See what happens.
Something bad happens.
Sandbox roguelike which is still in development. Despite this, it's entirely playable and extremely fun. Fun, which I define as I spent half a day with my screen looking like this. And I had to kill a man for his tattoo gun so I could drink the ink, pull the cord on a flashbang, and explode it into my open eyes. Why? Because in this game, that's how you cure monochromia. If pain and suffering are the extra edge to your enjoyment, you're gonna have a great time. If you're asking yourself right now, Seth, what the fuck am I looking at? It might not be your cup of tea, but I don't drink tea because they tampered my water supply, and ever since I started drinking from a public tap, I've been getting more and more of these androgynous body pillows. Let's be real here. Caves of Quud, Caves of Could, Cock, is not the prettiest of games. This is probably the only game you could get caught playing in the office and have your boss look at the screen and think, damn, my man's Excel spreadsheet looks fucked up.
Wish I could play this other game.
Even though there are some nice visuals here and there, you're gonna have to use imagination. And if
that's
you
something I like.
Take my word for it that this random collection of pixels is actually a small farming community. So, what's the story of Quud? I don't know. There used to be an advanced transhumanist civilization living on Quud, but they're not around anymore. Instead, we got mutated everything, from humans to trees, from pigs to chimpanzees. Everything thinks, feels, and the plants talk behind your back. Welcome to Quud. It's a complete madhouse, but hey, it's very colorful. To play this stupid game, you need to make a character, for which you've got two options, mutant or truekin. What's the difference? Mutants are genetic freaks, and they randomly mutate their genome as they level up, which includes, but not limited to, multiple heads, multiple feet, multiple hands, 2 hearts, paralyzing stomachs, regrowing limbs, the ability to fly, the ability to induce a brain aneurysm, spontaneous combustion, teleportation, phasing through solid objects, and even infinite nutrition from the sun. Because your skin is made of chlorophyll. So, what's the downside? You're a horrific abomination, and if you encounter a certain holy inquisition of turbo-augmented race purists, they'll kill you on sight. Conversely, true to the name, truekin are humans that haven't mutated. They don't get mutations. They get cybernetic augmentation. These don't come cheap. You first need to obtain an implant, whether by chance or by cutting the electronics out of a dead Templar. Then you need to find an autonomous upgrade terminal, which, upon detecting that you are indeed a pure-blooded human, refers to you as aristocrat. It allows you to install as many implants as you want, provided your body has space, and provided you did not forget to upgrade your cybernetic software license. Because even if a world is over, we cannot forget the importance of arbitrary bureaucratic administration. And by God, you're going to follow strict HR protocol to get your transhumanist upgrades. Every registered cybernetic in your body runs a license cost. The total cannot exceed the license, which you have to upgrade using cybernetic credits. These are exceptionally rare, and there's no easy way of finding them. And rightly so, because cybernetics are absolutely ridiculous. Tired of your tiny, feminine hands? giant hands.
Nice.
Afraid of dying? On board, intravenous, AI-controlled injectors designed to pump you full of life-saving chemicals depending on the situation instantaneously.
Damn.
Want to fabricate narcotics in the middle of combat? We can install fingers on top of your fingers.
Wait, what?
And if you ever change your mind, you can swap them out for something else. However, amputating your legs to replace them with a set of motorized tank treads is, unfortunately, an irreversible process.
Damn, but still
Personally, I
great.
recommend you play a mutant when starting out. There's not really any bad choices in character creation, but realistically, don't get too attached to your first dozen. Once you're more confident, you can
can
play
see that.
Truekin instead, and abuse the system so hard
Virgil.
you'll forget the original
What
purpose of
the
this game.
fuck?
Attributes are simple, combat is even simpler, which is convenient because fighting
You're
is the
stunned,
main way to
stunned,
level up. You're
stunned.
going to be doing a lot of fighting, and death
Why did
is
the
a
wall
part
take
of
a
reality,
damage?
especially at lower levels. If I'm going to be very honest with you, most of you will reach Red Rock for one of the early quests and get stoned to death by a pack of bloodthirsty baboons.
Sounds
My advice, get a gun.
like normal.
There's a lot of dangers out there, but bullets don't discriminate. They only penetrate. This game is all about risk management, and there's no telling
about
what
right.
you're going to encounter, because nearly everything is randomly generated and unique to your save file. The settlements, the cultures, the lore, the layouts of dungeons and dwellings across the world, and even the pharmacological treatment for different types of disease are built completely out of RNG. Amazingly, it actually works most of the time.
Sounds
the
good
only
so
things
far.
that stay the same are the location of unique settlements, the topography of the map, and of course, the main quest line. Caves of Quid is quite unique in this regard, since most roguelikes don't have an overarching story. It's currently unfinished, so consider it entirely optional. If you're looking to follow an objective, and possibly, probably, most
Leech.
likely, die in a process.
blood.
If it makes you feel any better, most
Oh,
players
yeah,
get to
possible.
Golgotha, and then they quit. In my case, I got to Golgotha, came back, and then I realized that wasn't the hard part. What did he mean by this?
throw
I'm
the
not
SsethTzeentach
gonna tell
is
you.
swollen.
You're gonna
What?
have to experience
Your
that for
tongue
yourself. I'm
begins
not
to bleed.
joking when I say
What?
this game has one of the steepest difficulty curves, and one fatal mistake could end your entire playthrough. Or, you know, just hit Alt F4 and never tell anyone. Let me
Yeah.
tell you about mechanics.
That could be
Firstly,
good.
overlay UI. Turn it on. I have no idea why it's not the default, but it's virtually unplayable without it. There's a lot of interesting monster designs in this game. Interesting in their design to creatively reduce your life expectancy. Most common cause of death,
Okay.
a brick wall, because for some reason,
What?
mimics are level 25 and still generate where they shouldn't. That's good programming,
Damn.
just like choosing Unity to be the basis of your sandbox
Oh, no.
roguelike. How about Rusty Sawblade that dismembers on every hit? I hope you have an extra head, because otherwise, it's game over. On the bright side, equipping your severed face as a homemade facial accessory is both fashionable and attractive.
Really?
You like bananas? How about being
Right.
peeled like a banana? Because for about half the banana trees in this game, the fruit comes to them. This may surprise newer players, as pressing Auto Explore in the Banana Grove is a guaranteed single-click shortcut to being disemboweled. Have you ever wondered about the struggle of living with dyslexia? If so, encounter a psychic master and his slaves, and you won't have to wonder anymore. And why not
Okay.
say, fuck it, let's add a giant magnet to the game, because stripping you of your dignity is no longer enough. We're going to forcibly strip you
What?
of your items as well. And considering most people have auto pickup turned on by default, watch as your character is forced into an infinite dance of losing items, picking them up only to lose them
Ooh,
again
no.
until you starve to death or smash escape fast enough to turn it off. You know the Great Pyramids of Egypt? Imagine they could fly. Now
Oh,
imagine
boy.
you fused it with a Sherman T-34 Calliope and expanded the rocket tube.
Why would
to
we do
100.
that?
Not too bad when you consider a rocket salvo is only 10, unless they get you up against a wall, in which case you get slammed repeatedly until they empty the entire rack. And then they fabricate and replace each and every high explosive missile in a single turn. At this point, why not give it an automatic force field
What
and
the fuck?
ability to randomly teleport across the map? Everything described as an enemy inside Caves of Quid. Is it a unique optional boss fight? No,
hey, that
it
was
is a
Ruby
common
weapon.
occurrence in the Deathlands, known only as a chrome pyramid. And if you see your screen vibrating
I would
and
run.
glitching, it's a good time to leave. If that sounds
Yeah,
overwhelming,
sounds
let
about
me
right.
assure you that's not the case. Because every creature in this game, from birds to trees, plants to ants, baboons to raccoons, everything belongs to a specific faction, and their relation to you is dependent on your reputation
Cats,
with the group.
yay.
If you're hated, even the peaceful ones will try to rip
Okay.
you apart. If you're loved, even the most aggressive members will protect you as one of their own.
At least
This
that's good.
applies to others as well.
Chimps eat the fuck out of monkeys.
And the relation between factions controls their
What do you
behavior.
mean by that,
Let's say
Logan?
you wear a beaded bracelet. This tricks baboons into thinking you're one of their own. That doesn't mean they're not aggressive. That just means they're not aggressive to you.
They hunt monkeys. They corral them in. It's the most ruthless shit.
What?
Because there's a video of this chimp eating a monkey while it's alive. It's holding on to the
What?
monkey and biting its hips and just pulling chunks of meat while the monkey's screaming like, ah!
So, how do you influence reputation?
Okay.
Reputation isn't affected by helping or killing normal people, only celebrities. Much like real life, if you kill a lot of short people, they won't rise up against you. But if you kill a famous
Oh, hey.
Minecraft
Underwater
YouTuber the
gaming.
size of a small child, they'll start to notice. Every faction randomly generates legendary characters, and interacting, bonding, or straight up murdering them will influence your reputation,
salt
depending
cracker.
on that character's personal history. For example, this is a legendary baboon queen. She is
Daring
naturally
the foreign
loved by
baboon
her
queen.
people. However, she accidentally dug up some robot's dead grandfather, probably a TI-84 calculator. She also
Oh,
sold
boy.
confidential banking details from one village and stole some shit from another.
Okay,
Quite
would be pretty
understandably,
hate that.
these factions don't like her, and smacking her dead with a heavy branch would probably make a lot of people, excluding those that use shit as a projectile, incredibly happy. Now, the most precious resource in Quad is water. There's not much of it around,
Okay.
so the act of sharing your water is one of the most culturally significant actions you can take. Your first is mine, my water is yours. Performing a water ritual will bond you together and strengthen relations. The factions that like them will like you even more, but the factions that don't will dislike you by association. However, sharing water with another only
take
later
one
to
of the water,
betray
sure,
your
good
brother
bonus
is
game.
the worst crime you can possibly commit, and even the enemy of
Damn.
will regard you, the kinslayer, with open hatred, as will every faction in the game. Of course, you can always use a Schrodinger's page. Remember, it's not considered historical revision when you're doing it with quantum entanglement. As briefly mentioned, water is the most valuable commodity. That's why we
Faction
don't
bottom
have
balance,
currency.
I see.
Water is currency. We don't go by greenback or gold. We go by water. And we
Oh.
trade it by the dram. 1 dram of
Dram.
water is approximately 1/8 of a fluid
Oh,
ounce,
really?
or about 3.6 ml. It is the smallest unit of trade, and a water skin can hold up to 64 drams of fluid, 8 fluid ounces, or about 230 ml. In Caves of Quad, we drink our currency. In this world, poverty isn't begging on the streets. Poverty is dying of thirst, and so
Yeah.
you need water to live or trade, meaning your currency is actually damn heavy, and there's only so many water skins you can carry around. It's an interesting system, effectively forcing you to trade valuables for other valuables, and measure out water to even out the difference. But to even earn your water, you're going to have to go into the
can you-
great unknown. Explore, plunder, and pillage your way across the world, and hopefully you can come back alive. It's going to be dangerous, but when
No, but my like I would die on the first turn or anywhere because I'm bad at these types of games.
the alternative is certain death, I think I'll take my options. Survival is not easy, but the game offers you a diverse variety of skills to help you stay alive. Each time you level up, you get skill points, which can be freely distributed to suit your character.
That's
Finding
nice.
combinations that work is a matter of experimentation. For example, I once made a mutant with 6 arms, with
Damn.
an axe in each hand. Axes specialize in dismemberment, and dual welding specializes in attacking simultaneously with each arm. Each turn, my abomination
yes,
took off up to 6 limbs, including the head. And believe me, everything eventually runs out of limbs. On top of
Nice.
that, you'll run into items you don't understand. These will be described as an artifact and require successful identification to properly use.
Nice.
For example, if your character is a complete dumbass, he has no concept of a folding chair. Instead,
Oh,
you'll see
I
it as
see.
a collection of
Strange.
strange tubes. Also, don't do this with stuff you don't own, because in the process of delicately smashing it to pieces, you might unintentionally break it. And the excuse of, sorry, I was just identifying, doesn't work when you're being violently murdered by a pack of villagers. Artifacts are amazing and offer you great flexibility, often augmenting or replacing abilities you don't have with their mechanized technological equivalent. These include, but are not limited to, instant teleportation to any XYZ coordinate, biodynamic fuel cells powered by blood, handheld nuclear grenades, or even a pair of rocket skates designed for their intended purpose to burn down every forest in the game. Not only can you use them, but with a tinkering skill, you can also craft them. And provided you've got the appropriate blueprints, you can not only craft them, but also modify them to your heart's content. And for the longest time, that seemed like the limits of this game, until I went further beyond and discovered cooking. Imagine living in a world where the difference between life and death is decided almost entirely by what you had for breakfast that day.
Well, if you say it like that, for me it would be really bad because I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. So I would be always at disadvantage.
Because that's what cooking is to Caves of Quud. When everything is so mutated, even consuming the mutant will give you their properties, and adding more mutants to the dish will increase the possibilities of your ridiculous combination. For example, I can engineer a chance to heal to full health on any tick of damage. Then I pour acid on my feet and become immortal. Or I can use a mental mutation to spawn a huge number of plants that explode when you step on them, eat a gecko that gives me complete immunity to fire, and intentionally cause a chain reaction that turns the entire map into lava while leaving myself untouched. Or I could ask a gigantic sewer slug for his favorite soup recipe, drink it, and turn myself permanently into a gigantic sewer slug that stores, pressurizes, and spits entire rivers of acid. With all that knowledge, the only thing left is to go deeper. Many people go into caves and they don't come back. Usually they have stupid names like Nutty Putty Cave. A man actually died there. There's a mother out there that had to explain to her kids, yeah, your father unfortunately passed away in Nutty Putty Cave. Do you want that to be you? But I digress, because everything I've told you up until now has been the surface of Quud. What does that mean? It means I've played long enough to see the game for what it really is. A series of challenges that appear impossible until you realize every problem has a solution. And once the puzzle pieces click together, you'll reach that epiphany that the entire system is, by design, designed to be subverted. The sandbox wants you to break it. It wants you to achieve your goal in the most creative way possible. Let me tell you about the real Caves of Quud. For a start, we need a lot of money. We don't have time to earn it, so we're going to print it. Welcome to the lava economy. Lava is extremely valuable. 1 dram equals 16 drams of water.
That's a lot of water.
Great. However, we can only store it safely inside a 1 dram glass vial. A water skin 64, but starts burning the moment you put it in. Previously, I could extinguish the fire caused by the lava by pouring water on it and leaving the water skin perfectly intact for me to sell. The developers patched this out and reduced the value of lava twice, but that didn't stop me. Instead, I streamlined the process. Normally, fungal colonies produce lava, which is a good source of early money and parasitic infections, but their capacity is limited. We need industrial quantities.
So how did you get it?
Identify a thermal grenade and a freeze grenade. Any generation works, but a Mark III is preferable. Next, we need bananas, either 6-day stilt or banana grove. Preserve it into sun-dried bananas, cook it, gain psychometry. Use psychometry to read the early history of every artifact in your inventory without paying for a data disk ever again. Get tinkering to level 1 so you can disassemble scrap and craft grenades. Go to the desert canyon, locate a nice pocket of shale rock. Quick trivia, what's the melting point of shale rock? About 1,000 degrees. Chuck thermal grenades in quick succession until it melts. Congratulations, we've just made lava. Fill as many water skins as you can hold and throw them far away. Now refrigerate them. Congratulations, you have now freeze-dried your lava. Head back to town and
how the fuck do you freeze lava? Wouldn't it turn into a normal rock by, freezing it? Or, obsidian and stuff? Or do you want to tell me that even though it's frozen, it's still lava?
and buy whatever you want. With the Federal Reserve forever printing lava, we don't have to worry about money anymore. Next, we need to metagame harder. Liquids are important to this game. Liquids are vital. Liquids also mix together and get tainted in the process. Would you like it if a woman stepped in your bowl of
Maybe.
cereal? Don't answer that. At the 6-Day Stilt, there's a merchant of interest. He sells liquids, sometimes exceptionally rare liquids. He's going to be the catalyst to our success. But there's one problem. He's only one man.
Yeah.
We need more. Have a look at my game. Now let's read the names together.
Huh?
Ichor Merchant. Clone of an Ichor Merchant. Clone of a clone of an Ichor Merchant. You get
Okay.
the idea. We're going to buy his cloning solution, pour it on his body, and watch him multiply. And then we're going to buy cloning solution from his clones to multiply them as well. Why? So we can buy more cloning solution to duplicate any merchant we desire. It takes some time. But first, you have to plant your crops
Cloning,
before you can enjoy the harvest. Now we're going to buy our way to immortality. How? By purchasing every file of neutron flux. And then you're going to cook some gravity. Neutron
Wait,
flux
what?
gives you a permanent +1 to your armor value, with a 1 in 4 chance of gravitational collapse. Seth, I don't like those odds. Neither do I. Take a Sphinx Salt Injector, stab it into your arm, start cooking. If your body collapses under the weight of a neutron star, go back. Because that never really happened. Because precognition is a vision of the future, not the present. And if you don't like that
Okay.
theoretical timeline, you go back to a divergent point in time when you first injected that
That's-
cocktail. Walk around, live life, and try again. When the deterministic dice roll of RNG will give you the outcome you desire. Yes, this game has save scumming built into the
Okay.
mechanics. Reach immortality. Keep eating bananas. The potassium is good for you and good for your newfound ability to craft
Well, let's not forget that if you eat too many bananas, you will get radiation poisoning.
nearly every item in the game. Next, the one and only reason I play Truekin is to pacify the Templars. Unique Templars carry a
I see.
very special cocktail. Unfortunately, they're extremely trigger happy, and they have a tendency to inject it upon any sign of conflict. As a Truekin, I simply walk up to them and buy it for a pathetic sum of money. What is it? It's an injector filled with Ether Nectar. Injecting
What the
it
hell
gives
is
you
Ether
a
Nectar?
permanent +1 to a random attribute, but that's not good enough. We're going to preserve
Okay.
and condense the nectar, and then we're going to use precognition and cook it, which gives us a 1 in 4 chance of getting +1 in all of our attributes permanently. However, these are
Okay,
quite rare,
that's a
and
bit
I
broken.
can't know if I'll ever find another. So first, I find a high-level merchant, clone them repeatedly, and buy metamorphic polygel. This is cloning solution for items. So now I
Oh.
can theoretically scale my character to an infinite
Team
amount
Jacob.
of armor, infinite amount of attributes, and once I clone all the bookstores, an infinite amount of Schrodinger's pages that I can use to gain an infinite amount of reputation. And still, I get one shot by a fucking rusty saw.
Oof.
Remember that chrome pyramid I talked about? Previously, nobody actually knew how to
Okay.
deal with these, until one insane madman EMP'd the force field, charged the chrome pyramid, and, with a small flick of a blade, disarmed it. Yes,
what?
he ripped off the entire swarm rack. That same swarm rack can be picked up and used. However,
Nice.
the average player can only hold a weight of about 300. This thing weighs 1,500. So we modify it, reducing its total
Okay.
weight down to 0.
What?
But at this point, weight doesn't really matter. With the exact same method, I disarmed every other robot in the Deathlands and used them to craft spheres of negative weight, allowing us to effectively roleplay as a high-speed missile
What the
launcher.
fuck?
But even that was still not enough. I was tired of paying for goods, so
How
I
about-
stabbed a merchant with a love injector and robbed him blind. Then I stabbed a legendary bear, so we
Nice.
could improve
Mama
human
bear.
race relations by sharing honey and the location of local beehives.
Nice.
I also stabbed the Pope, made him follow me back to town, and watched as he started a race riot because
Wow.
his reputation with the unwashed masses was not very high. Instead, I wanted companions that
Okay.
don't murder everyone, so I sprayed sentience on a block of concrete and convinced the block of animated concrete to follow me into combat.
Nice. Give me that. I can make friends with my walls, or my figures, or I don't know, something with my PC maybe. But it would be nice.
I found out concrete is not only indestructible, it can also hold weaponry in its hands. Unfortunately, my
hands?
companion died when I foolishly tried to slam through concrete using concrete. I broke a concrete wall. I lost a concrete friend.
That was
But none
stupid.
of what I said even holds a candle compared to being a high-level esper. Here's some examples of what you can do. Surround yourself with a permanent force field. Use instant
Nice.
transmission. Turn walls into lava. Turn brains into liquid using your mind. From the other side of a map with clairvoyance. Dominate every merchant to give
Okay.
you their life savings.
What?
Dominate a domesticated pig. Put a nuclear warhead in its mouth. And turn it into a remote-controlled suicide bomber. Split yourself into 7 identical copies
What?
with identical powers and turn the screen into a living nightmare. Use ego projection.
What's
Project
ego
your
projection?
HP so high it doesn't even render in the UI. Die anyway. Reverse the outcome with precognition. Follow one of the billion divergent timelines instead. Tap the mass mind.
What?
Pluck sentience from the universe. Reset
Okay.
your cooldowns and do it all over again. As you can probably tell, it
Pretty
was so
broken.
damn powerful that the developers had to code in their own countermeasures. Now, the more powerful you are, the more others start to notice.
being
Your
watched.
psychic glimmer increases, and other espers will come to take your mind for
I
their
see.
own. The attacks become so brutal, the burden of power so great, that you might even be tempted in your moment of weakness to eat a fuck ton of humble pies. Because in this game, the bakeries are owned by Nietzsche, and his pastries induce ego death. But
Oh.
the player will forever subvert the developer. Do you know how to end the pursuit? To
How?
stop
Tell
the
us.
hunt? To escape? You have to accept first that there is no escape and allow yourself to be caught. And in the briefest of moments, you dominate your pursuer and kill yourself. Your old flesh is gone, but inside new flesh, your mind lives on. This
Okay.
game is truly exceptional, but it does have its problems. One, it's made on Unity. That's not immediately noticeable. But when a small cloud of gas accidentally falls down a pipe and has to generate 10 levels of dungeon for the sake of simulation, yeah, you're gonna notice. Two, sometimes an essential quest NPC contracts a fungal infection and is regrettably chopped to pieces. Sometimes the sandbox
It is
breaks
what it
and
is.
you lose your progress. The game practically expects you to use console commands to fix itself, so don't feel too bad about it. Free. Most of the game is randomly generated, but you can tell immediately if a character is pre-written, because
Isapa.
the first Tumblr persona you meet will give you an option
Forget.
to ask about her neon purple hair and quirky way of talking. I like the writing in this game,
What?
but come on, disliked by the water barons for her queer appearance? Really? Maybe. She just looks like
Okay.
shit. Listen,
Well-
I can respect the fact that you can self-insert your OC girlfriend, but at least give us the option of dismembering her. And 4, I want more. There's not enough of this world, and you're spending too much of your time banning me off your Discord for making reasonable
Okay.
gameplay suggestions. Initially, I dismissed this game as overly simplistic. I come back now to tell you how deep it goes. Even with the time given, I've only told you a fraction of what I know. It should be noted that the writing in this game is fantastic. There's so
At least that's
much
good to
lore,
know.
like how the banana ranchers in this game are plants themselves. It's
Right.
plants enslaving plants.
Oh,
it's plantation
no.
owners beating other plantation owners. They just work up the hierarchy. It's like my slave name used to be whipped cream. Now
Oh.
I'm whipping cream. The music in this game
God
is
damn it.
very charming and sets the tone that you're in a completely alien environment where nearly every rock, tree,
Animated
and
demo.
flower is very much alive. It's a beautiful, wonderful, and janky mess of a game. And despite being in early access,
Is it still
it's
in
already
early
given me
access?
hundreds of hours of enjoyment. As such,
Good
I
check.
give it a completely random yet quantifiably high score, which can only be expressed on a graphical calculator.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's not for everyone, and it's incredibly neurotic. But if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, give it a try. We negotiated a deal, however small, for about 10% off for the next couple of days on GOG. Follow the link, and you save a single $1. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. That content will consist of more than 4 pixels.
What the-
A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and
Merchants Guild doesn't
bankrolling
care
these
about you,
videos.
but I guess
Except this
maybe
one
about
is
like you.
completely free, because I can't make you pay money for abstract text adventures. You're all truly wonderful. Take care and have a good one.
Pretty good video from SsethTzeentach.